Police in the Central Region say they have retrieved 18 empty cartridges from the scene of the Monday evening highway robbery at Gomwa Port Saint Junction. The district commander of Gomwa Dominase, DSP Paul Ankan, says 8 robbers fled in a vehicle they snatched amidst gunshots after they robbed travelers. Here is the account of an eyewitness who said she was in a vehicle shot many times by the robbers.
And suddenly, from nowhere, we saw 2 guys in the middle of the road and they had guns pointing in our direction. So they were signaling, like one of us, the one on the left, like towards the driver, was signaling us to stop, stop, stop. Then immediately I felt like something was not right because there was no barrier. Then I said, "I'm robbers." So the guy sped and all I heard was, he sprayed the car. So I think we were all shocked, and for about 2 minutes we were all quiet because it's a blind van. So they saw the driver and the passenger at the front. So they got them down and asked them to bring their phones and their money. So when another car, like all the other cars started coming, they moved to them. So the other ones in the van also got down and they also, so people started parking and running into the bush. So if you don't know and then you come there, then so there was this car, unregistered vehicle, I hear was going to Elipu. They pulled it and said they spoke very bad English. The tree was bad. Fasikai mami.
The police commander tells my colleague Menstrual the police do not have vehicles to effectively patrol that part of the Accra Cape Coast Highway he describes as dangerous.
When we got to the scene, we saw that at least some vehicles had been robbed. A driver who was in charge, Toyota Subaru, together with 15 passengers, has been left stranded. What happened? The vehicle, after robbing, the robbers snatched the vehicle from him and drove towards Accra. Some of the Okada riders at Dominance Junction saw the moving vehicle. They would be chasing. But the robber, sensing danger, veered up the main road and drove towards Dominance Junction, Dominance Township. So when he reached the outskirts of the town, he abandoned the vehicle and ran away amidst sporadic shooting. So this scared the youth. They were able to pursue him to arrest him, but because of the gun, they couldn't near him anymore, and he ran away. When we visited the scene, actually 18 empty cartridges were discovered. It means that the robbers actually did the shooting. Investigations have started earnestly to ensure that those who did that will be arrested. A vehicle was shot at several times with bullet-ready holes all over, but I haven't seen the driver yet. That stretch of road, something which is very dangerous to us. You know, beside the right and the left, there are no settlements, okay? And the place during the night is very dark, very, very, very dark for commuters especially. So police, we are trying very hard concerning our patrols to be on that stretch, but you know, the patrols are inadequate. We always rely on Kasua patrol team. As for my district, I don't have a vehicle, and this is what I'm working hard to get. You see, if I get the vehicle, I don't have that problem at all. I'll move with my men on that stretch of road every night. I will plead to the general public to at least help us with vehicles. If administration is finding it hard to provide.
The Peasant-Farmers Association of Ghana is demanding stiffer punishment for nomadic herdsmen who allowed their cattle to graze on farms and destroy produce in the process. The association's president, Victoria Adongo, says it's about time government, as a matter of urgency, formulates a robust law on ranching to quell clashes between the herdsmen and farmers. She was speaking at a Ghana Pastoral Policy Stakeholder Workshop here in Accra, from where Henry Kwesi Badu reports.
Yes, there have been series of clashes between herdsmen and farmers across the country, with several lives lost in the process. The law on ranching is therefore being championed by the Peasant Farmers Association in collaboration with the Ghana National Association of Cattle Farmers to minimize the clashes.
This is the first time that an actual pastoral policy is going to the floor of Parliament. I have witnessed a lot of parliamentary debates on this cattle herdsmen and other things, and none of them have actually materialized into something concrete. So now that there is something very concrete coming out of this pastoral policy document, I think that Parliament should act fast on it and issue the bill and the president should give their assent to it as soon as possible. Also, because we want to save lives, we want to save a lot of things. We don't want to go through those conflicts again. And I think that with the law, everybody concerned, all stakeholders will know the limits within which they should act. Right. So government should prioritize it when the draft is presented to them. That is why we are actually passing it through the Cattle Ranching Advisory Committee that has been set up by the government and the minister, the sector minister. So with this, it will get to the sector minister as fast as possible, and it will be up to him to work hard to see that the bill is passed.
Kwame Asafo-Adjei is chairperson of the Food and Agriculture Committee of Parliament and also member of Parliament for Nsuta Kwamang Beposo constituency, one of the areas prone to such clashes. He says it is the priority of government to pass a cattle ranching law to help curb the menace.
I will ensure that the appropriate action, of course in consultation with the leadership, is taken, because it's good for all of us. Every policy of government is a priority to the president.
Some of the farmers and nomadic herdsmen who spoke with Joy News also believe the existence of such a law will help reduce the conflict.
I would thank government of the day for coming in to solve the Afram Plain issue in a way. Why am I saying in a way? Because a place has been allocated for headmen to graze. And then once a place has been located for headmen to graze, it will go a long way in solving some of these issues.
I think if we are putting up demonstration centers and people start to learn that, so with 10 animals in a day, I can get 10 liters from one animal. So with 10 animals in a day, I can get 100 liters. It costs this and that. So there's no need of getting a lot of animals. With a little place, I can confine my animals. So it is a step, education followed by the grazing reserves, then gradually adopting the new system of breeding. I think with that we can go forward.
The Peasant Farmers Association says the final policy document, after validation, will be submitted to the sector minister to inform the development of a cattle ranching law. Henry Kwesibedu's report for Joy News. Sexy.
Now, the mother of a 13-year-old girl allegedly defiled separately by two men, one of them a chief, is seeking justice for her daughter. Chief of Freso in Bosome Freho district of the Ashanti region is said to have sexually assaulted the girl who had gone to collect payment for firewood he had bought from there. 3 days after Nanata Amwa Entry's inflicted pain on the girl, a taxi driver, identified only as inspector, subjected her to a similar ordeal while she was fetching firewood in a nearby bush for sale. Medical report confirms she had been defiled and a poor mother is struggling to raise money for her care. Nane Aljima has more in the following report.
Even when her mother suggests she's recovering, it's obvious the 13-year-old girl walks with difficulty. The abuse she suffered allegedly from two adults, one of them a chief, is responsible. Part of the medical report Love News has laid hands on reads.
Patient had tenderness with swells all over the vulva and vestibules. Patient also had bruises with oozing of blood from the vestibules.
The first of the girl's ordeal was perpetrated by Chief of Freso, Nanata Amwa Entry. The child had just returned from school when she went to collect a debt from the chief who allegedly ended up sexually abusing her. She says, I had tried several times to get my money, but to no avail. The last time I went there, he invited me to his room and brought out some money for me. I reached out for it, and he pushed me onto his bed and had sex with me. I cried for help, but the house was empty. He threatened to curse me with his tools and other deities if I told anyone about this. Even before her mother got to know about the encounter with the chief, a taxi driver she identifies as Inspector also defiled her in the bush. 4 days afterwards, this man, who is a friend to my elder sisters, sent me on an errand. When I returned, he was in the bushy area. close to the refuse dump. He made me come over and also had sex with me. One morning, my mother couldn't get me money for school. He saw me on my way to school and told me to come for the money. I went because I was hungry, and again, he had sex with me. It took the tearful mother 1 week to hear of what had befallen her daughter and the pain she is enduring. Apparently, the alleged corporate chief had warned her not to disclose her ordeal to her mother or anyone else or risk dying. Mother laments her vulnerability has opened the family up for abusive persons who want to prey on them. She says, I am beginning to believe that there is no hope for myself and my daughter. All I need is for her health to improve. I leave the rest to God and the courts. Nanata Amua Entry has since been arraigned and granted bail by Bekwai Circuit Court, but the second alleged culprit is on the run. Prosecution had prayed the court to remand the accused in police custody for investigations to continue. This was, however, turned down on grounds the facts of prosecution are not weighty enough to support a remand decision. The court indicated the age of the victim is yet to be proven by documents, and also medical report was taken after a week the alleged incident happened. In addition, the medical report was authored by a physician assistant instead of a medical officer in charge of a hospital. Father of the accused, Paul Yeboah, tells Love News the allegation is part of a plot to destool his son. The same girl accused 2 men of sexual assault. In the process of solving it, they came for the matter to be taken out of the palace. The chief agreed, and we didn't hear anything from them again. It is something they do. My son is innocent. The teenage girl denies this, insisting she is too young to be involved in chieftaincy matters.
Now, the National Peace Council, which has been meeting at Peduase, has agreed with the political parties for the establishment of a committee that would agree on a roadmap for the disbanding of political party, vigilante or militia. My colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson is standing by at Peduase to give us the very latest on that. Hello, Kwesi. What can you tell us about this agreement reached by the National Peace Council with the political parties?
Right. Hello. So, Israel, the National Peace Council just ended the meeting with the political parties, and let me just read to you the recommendation or the agreement between the NPP and the NDC and also the National Peace Council. Now, it says that the National Peace Council, with the support of the technical experts and with input from the 2 political parties, represents a working document on a roadmap for the consideration of the parties, taking into account the report submitted by the various stakeholders at the just ended dialogue on the eradication of politically related violence. This will be done within a period of 4 weeks. And then 2, the draft code of conduct designed by the National Peace Council will be considered as one of the deliverables in the presentation of the roadmap. So this is the agreement signed by the NPP and the NDC and also the National Peace Council. Now, the technical aspect that they are talking about, let me just quickly give you a quick background. The stakeholders that the NDC proposed that they participate in this dialogue, in fact, yesterday and today, they were in the meeting, and we do understand that they presented what the National Peace Council call a very detailed document on activities of vigilantism. And for them, they believe that if the technical experts are able to consolidate all the presentation of the document put together by the stakeholders, it will go a long way to help deal with the matters. And that is why this committee will be set up to deal with the threat of party militia. And I have with me the General Secretary of the Opposition NDC, Johnson Asedu Nkata, who has been in the meeting of the Mr. Asedu Nkata. Thank you very much for your time. And General, we got the impression that the NDC sought to oppose any decision by the National Peace Council as far as this meeting is concerned. They wanted to amend the law and scrap vigilante, by-elections. But the NDC opposed to that.
No, I think that if you want to evaluate our contribution to this dialogue, you better talk to the National Peace Council members themselves. I get the impression that MPP thinks when they propose something and then we expose the challenges with such proposals, then they have a major difficulty. To begin with, we are approaching this dialogue with all the seriousness that it requires. And so from day one, we've set up a committee of our experts, the most experienced experts, and then the Peace Council will attest that anytime we attend meetings, we come with proposals, documentation, and the other things in a very business-like manner. And so I'm sure that if you interview the members of the Peace Council, they are very, very impressed about our inputs into this whole process. We have rallied around, we have aligned experts such as former Chief of Staff of the Republic for several years, Nana Tudaze. We've brought in persons like the immediate past Attorney General Marita Brewer-Pia, and a host of other lawyers, Chichi Poku and other things, who all have some experience on this type of mediation and problem solving. I don't think that the other side are as fully represented as we are. And so, and again, so it makes our inputs very valuable to the process. And you realize that it is upon our demand that other stakeholders were invited, because we believe that this is a problem that must be tackled and comprehensive solutions found to develop it, to save our, to deal with it, to save our democracy. And so that is the background to all these talks.
So would you say the NDC is satisfied with today's agreement?
So to begin with, it is not accurate for anybody to say that we have been opposing proposals by the Peace Council. It's not true. In fact, when Peace Council brings proposals, in fact, the last communique, when Peace Council brought the proposal for a communique, it was the MPP who at some point decided that they will not participate in a technical committee that will be working to develop the roadmap. It is not NDC. And so they resisted up to a point that they didn't want any committee to involve any stakeholders and so on. They wanted the Peace Council to, by itself, go and develop a roadmap. And I said that Peace Council is a statutory institution, but it requires some expertise. That is how come other stakeholders like civil society organizations and so on have been brought on board. So they are a facilitating institution. So we shouldn't restrict them. And so eventually we got a compromise that the Peace Council is free to invite experts, whether they are from NDC, MPP, and then civil society, to be able to develop a roadmap, because we think that the key to the solution is the roadmap. Because as for policy statements that we all want to abolish vigilantism, we've said this millions of times. Each political party has been saying that, well, we don't want vigilantism, we want it abolished. And when we are approaching any election, we sign codes of conduct, make several declarations, and yet still those elections will witness the violence. So it tells you that it doesn't take just public declarations to solve the problem. And from the presentations by experts, particularly from the Chief Imam's office, from National Kofi Annan International and CSOs and other things, it is very, very clear that the problem is bigger than people think. And it is in agreement with our initial position that it is no longer, party enthusiasts gathering together to protect ballot boxes and so on. It has developed to a stage where people see the vigilantism and adopt vigilantism as a way of living. It has become a commercial enterprise. And thanks to the support of certain political leaders, some of them have all their accoutrements, including arms and other things, with which they ply their trade. So if you sit in Accra here and just make a declaration that from tomorrow, Kandahar boys, Delta forces, invisible forces have been dissolved, it doesn't solve any problem. Right. So we should develop a roadmap, even to a point of engaging the leadership of those organizations, the heads of these vigilante groups, understand their thinking, and try to find a way of properly demobilizing them so that pronouncements in Accra about their demobilization will not result to they adopting other, tactics of survival. And so that is the case. But our colleagues in MPP don't seem to see the problem the way we see it.
Right, Gerard. So, I mean, there has been an agreement now. So, for the sake of time, we'll go about to continue with the conversation. So, Israel, have been speaking to the General Secretary of the Opposition, NDC, Johnson Assedin-Kante, and it appears that he's quite satisfied with the agreement today. All right.
Thank you very much, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, joining us, bringing us that from Peduase. Now, the story is that the National Peace Council, which has been meeting with the political parties, they have agreed a roadmap for the disbandment of political party militias. You're watching. Now, access to sanitary pads remains a challenge for many because of poverty. Many girls, as a result, will stay away from school to avoid a situation where they would soil themselves and be subjected to ridicule. That is why on World Menstrual Hygiene Day, many are advocating for taxes to be scrapped on sanitary towels to make it less expensive. For many living in urban communities, spending about 10 cedis each month on sanitary pads during menstruation may not be that much. That is, however, not the case for folks living in rural communities where period poverty is rife. Joining us, Fred Kwame Asari highlights a story of some teenage girls at Mafi Dover in the Central Town District of the Ulster region who are compelled to use unhygienic methods during menstruation.
Meet 14-year-old Patience Amenohu, a junior high school 2 pupil of the Mafi Dover Community Basic School. Her mother migrated to Yeji for economic reasons when she was 5 years old, so Patience has been living with her grandmother.
She's selling some small items, but she don't have enough money to be giving us to school. And looking after me, she's doing a part, but it's very difficult for her to look after me.
Patience says since she experienced her first menstruation, getting access to sanitary pads has been difficult. Her grandmother struggles to eke out a living to take care of her, so she is compelled to use pieces of cloth during her menses.
If it comes for my menses, sometimes she don't have money to give me to buy sanitary pad, and at that time, if she don't have money to give to me, I'll stay at home. And like sometimes that she have money and to me to buy the sanitary pad, I'll go to school. And if she don't give me money to buy the sanitary pad, she give me a piece of clothes to use.
We have been surviving on the little income from my petty trade. It has been very difficult providing her needs, which includes food, clothes, sanitary pads and others. Sometimes, when I don't have money to buy her sanitary pads, I tell her to use a piece of cloth and stay at home till she's done with her period.
School. 14-year-old Vera Mokla is also caught up in the same situation. She was also left in the custody of her grandmother by the mother who also gave up taking care of her some few years ago. Her next menstrual period is almost due, and as always, she is washing an old piece of cloth for use.
I have started menstruating, but grandma doesn't have money to buy pad for me, so I use a piece of cloth. Due to this, I do not go to school. I don't feel comfortable when I use the cloth, and it is not hygienic.
Vera's grandmother, Abuya Goka, fears she might end up engaging in immoral acts to meet her financial needs.
My prayer is that she doesn't get lured by men with money, since I am unable to provide all her needs. If this happens, she might get pregnant and drop out of school.
I followed up to the Mafidopa DAJHS, and the headmaster, Eugene Tojagbo, complained that period poverty is having a toll on the academic performance of female pupils.
The school so far, I've taken notice of 5 female students so far in the school who during their menses did not come to school. And when I find out from the students later when they come to school, they may tell me sometimes due to menstrual pains that they go through. Then others say because they don't have proper these sanitary pads to take care of themselves. So in fact, I've made several attempts to see their parents to see whether they can be providing such needs for their children so they come to school during those menstrual periods. But to date, they have not made any improvement on that.
The phenomenon of period poverty partly contributes to the increasing incidence of teenage pregnancy in the central Tung district. The district recorded 522 teenage pregnancy cases in 2017, the highest in the country within that year. Until teenage girls get access to free or affordable sanitary pads in this part of the country, their general well-being and academic life will be affected. Fred Kwame Asari's report for Joy News.
Well, it is because of girls like Patience and Vera that many are advocating for the scrapping of taxes or sanitary pads to make them more affordable. But no matter how low the price of sanitary pads, there will still be many who will be unable to afford them. That's why I've been joined in the studio by Abigail Tay from UNICEF, so we could look at the options available to such persons. Now, more important, though, we are aiming to demystify conversations about menstruation. Before she comes in, though, let's hear from the chairman of the Coalition of NGOs in Water and Sanitation, Martin Derry, who has been making the case for the scrapping of taxes on pads.
I'd like to advocate, use the opportunity to appeal to the one district, one factory secretariat. I really don't know why we haven't heard anything about somebody putting up a factory in Ghana to produce sanitary pads. It's such a guaranteed market. Don't you think so? Until that is done, we would also call for the exemption, tax waivers on sanitary pads. I was in Africa Sun earlier this year in Cape Town in South Africa, and I met a group who actually had reusable. They are not pads. They are made with the same material like condom. They are like latex. So you would insert them, and then they have the capacity to hold the discharge for the entire day. And then in the evening, you can just bring it out, wash it, and reuse it. So things are happening, and I believe we should be able to succeed if we are all committed to this fight to demystify menstrual hygiene. We would continue to advocate for a safe school environment, the provision of latrines, but also the provision of water facilities in schools, because it is very, very difficult to do appropriate menstrual hygiene management without running water.
So fortunately, we had some of the government officials who were there who also talked about the fact that they are actually lobbying government to ensure that the taxes are scrapped on on menstrual pads. Hopefully, the taxes will be scrapped to make the pads more affordable. That's if the state can't supply free pads for especially girls in rural areas. But there are other methods girls can use to ensure they do not soil themselves. And Abigail will tell us all about these. Thank you very much, Abigail, for coming through.
It's a pleasure.
All right. Before everything else, though, what are some of the weirdest stories you have come across about menstruation? And we're having this conversation because we want to demystify it so that people feel free to talk about them.
Okay, so one is the myth that if you are having painful menstruation, if you are having cramps, one of the ways to solve it is having sex.
Really?
Yes. So when you have sex, it's a way of solving menstrual cramps.
Who has been spreading that rumor?
I don't know. But that is the kind of myth that young girls are exposed to. And some go ahead to act on these. And we can say that some of the incidents of early pregnancy we are having could be as a result, of this myth.
Okay, but it's not true.
Yes, it's not true. It's not
Have you actually done some research?
No, but from my readings and from all the information I have had so far, there is no like real scientific backing to that is true. Yeah, and then also that when a group of ladies are living together in a particular space for a period of time, they are parting of menstruation, like it happens at the same time. Yeah, sometimes even that when someone doesn't experience cramps because the person is living together with someone, yes,
I mean, the person with other people who are,
eventually would also start having cramps. So you have myths like that,
And is that true?
From my readings,
it's
no,
not true.
Yes, until it's proven to be. But from what I have read and the information I've been exposed to so far, those things are not true.
Okay, so one of the objectives of Menstrual Hygiene Day is to have people freely talk about, have conversations like these, a topic which is usually regarded as a taboo. But how does it help when people talk about menstruation this way?
So there are a lot of challenges that girls and ladies go through because they are not able to come out to talk about menstruation because it's something that is deemed as secret and no one should know even when you're having your menstruation. So when we are able to open or create the platform to be able to talk or have conversations about menstruation, we are able to bring to light these challenges that ladies and then girls go through. And then collectively, we can all find ways of addressing this. Just as the conversation we had today, where the Ghana Education Service, together with UNICEF and then other partners, brought together key stakeholders, girls from schools. We all spoke about the challenges, and then we all also suggested ways of helping, and it was in the news, and it's going to, I think the representative from the chief imam, after the conversation, contacted me that he wants to, I should guide him, I should show him where the data we collected from your reports.
All right.
Yes, he would like to follow up on that and see how they can work about. So these are the changes that when we openly have these conversations.
Yeah. Share with us some of the challenges for those who were not at today's function.
The challenges are
soiling yourself
and feeling shy about something as natural as that, the stigmatization, because boys sometimes or most of the times are not involved in the conversation in the conversation of menstruation. So sometimes when they experience their fellow girls going through that, they sometimes tease them. Even we have the representative from the coalition mentioning that he once teased some girls. Yes. Yeah. So if we don't involve boys in that conversation, they tend to tease their fellow girls. We have inadequate toilet facilities in schools, and it's very important that as a lady, when you are going through or when you are in that period, you can have somewhere, some privacy or somewhere that you can go and change. Even sometimes you have some reactions that you often have to use the toilet facility, not just for changing, yes, but for convenience sake. So it's very important that we have schools that do not have these toilet facilities, or they are not even properly, where they are sited is not the best. It's in the open, so sometimes the girls feel shy.
Yeah, you don't want to use it.
Yes, we have issue with pads being expensive, and that's one of the issues that you talked about, that advocates are calling on government to scrap off the tax on this.
Or otherwise make them freely available.
Yes, like we are having food being made, feeding, the school feeding
program.
And menstruation is something that you don't have control over. So if sanitary pads are also a necessity, just as food, then if we are having school feeding, we could equally have sanitary pads being provided to especially those in the rural areas.
Okay. Now the conversations are driven towards we speaking freely about them, about menstruation. How free are people to talk about, or maybe I'll start with you. You're an advocate. Can you freely tell us when you're having your menstruation, for instance?
Today I'm having my menstruation. I started from yesterday, yes, and I was bold enough to tell everybody about it at the forum today.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I am, and I still am. And that is some of the progress we've had in society. And it's because of the efforts that we are also, because I have been exposed to a lot of information that is a natural thing, it's normal, so I don't have to feel shy about it. And way back, I recall my sister once made me changing my pad. And the fact that she met me, I felt so shy about it. The next moment I met her, I just wanted to vanish like into thin air. But today, I'm able to tell people who are not even close to me that I'm experiencing my menstruation, and it's normal. It's okay for me.
But that's the message we also need to send out there, to especially the young boys who are sitting in class with the girls who are going through the period, so that they get to know that it's fine that
especially in the rural areas where some of folks still hold on to this taboos and myths about menstruation. Yes.
Let's quickly look at the options that are available. Pads are the most popular, and then tampons, not so popular.
In Ghana, yes.
What are the other options?
So just as patient stories, some young girls in the rural areas rely on rags. Yes. But there is a great concern, and then reusable pads as well.
Right.
Yes, now we have some great initiatives that are coming up.
The KNUST ladies.
Yes, they are also doing pads from banana stem, actually. Yes, but especially with the reusable pads and then the rags, there is a big issue with how females handle these rags. First of all, how clean the rags they use are.
Okay, so you can use rags.
Yes.
But you should have to ensure that they are clean.
They are clean. And then
the
washing
reusable
it.
Pads.
Reusable pads as well. Washing it, because we were told that some girls feel...
Okay, so those are the pads made from banana stem.
Yes,
by
the
KNUST ladies. All right.
So we're told that some girls feel so shy to wash the reusable pads and dry them outside. So they'll wash them and dry them inside. Yes, which is hygienically not good. And also, we know that in our rural areas, access to water sometimes is a huge challenge.
Right.
And if you are using this reusable pads, which has to be washed, and you have to travel miles to get access to water, then we can tell people will be minimal with even the amount of water they use to wash this pads. So these are the concerns that we have with these other alternatives.
Okay, but if they had free pads, for instance, they wouldn't have to worry about all of these.
They wouldn't have to.
Okay, but until the free pads come, then we're telling them that, okay, wash your rags, all right, make sure that your rags are clean enough, and then wash them. When you wash them, don't keep them in the, you don't...
Feel free to hang them because it's natural. And we also have to sensitize the boys not to laugh at these girls. But we also have to make the girls confident to be able to dry these things out and be able to even have conversation about menstruation with their peers.
Okay, thank you very much, Abigail Tay, who doesn't feel shy, telling us that she's actually menstruating. And yes, let's have the conversations about menstruation. Now, moving on, traders at Domi Market are lamenting what they describe as the deplorable state of the market. They complain their items are sometimes destroyed by rain, leading to losses. In a consultation meeting with the market women, Member of Parliament for the Dom Kwabenya constituency, Sarah Adjasafo, assured she is working on expanding the market. And Sema Fajra Dozie has more.
In the market, we saw pools of water from heavy rains which flooded parts of this area. The market women had also filled parts with sand to make it passable. Amasewa says she has had to use her profit from the sale of vegetables to buy sand.
Anytime it rains, our goods are carried away. We always buy sand for 150 Ghana cedis. We all have to contribute 30 Ghana cedis each.
30 cedis. Look at this place.
The tilapia vendor, who chooses to be called Mama Shata, had one plea.
Good 20 years near me turn tilapia or the market here. Ya brainy attache. Into your panic shell. Adwa, we beg you, the market women, we beg you, please come and help us for our ground here. Oh, make attache. If you call somebody, because the person don't want to come because of the attache. So we beg this woman to come and help us.
The Municipal Assembly as a stakeholder held a consultation with the market women. Addressing the gathering, the MC, Janet Tulasi Mensah, broke the news of the construction of sheds for these women.
When the common fund was dispersed, we spoke to the MP and President about the need for sheds. They've listened and we are set to construct them soon.
The traders couldn't hide their excitement. Member of Parliament for the area, Adrasafo, revealed the sheds will be given to them for free.
The market expansion is happening in a few days. It will be free for everyone. We will not build and charge any trader.
I caught up with these traders after the event and they were elated. Today, our MP says we will get these shirts for free. I am very happy.